Jubilee weekend. How fantastic is that? Jubilee weekend. Hi, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show. Yeah, I know. I look a wreck. What can I do? I can't. It is what it is. But thank you for tolerating me. I hope you're enjoying the Jubilee weekend. This is Men's Radio Station. You know him. You've grown to love him because I do lots of surveys. It's only Neil Long.
Greetings and welcome to Men's Radio. A very good afternoon.
Very good. You're so professional. You make it sound like, like proper radio.
I do my
I
best.
make it sound like a kitchen falling down a hill, but that's my style. But you are so professional. You've changed venue.
I have changed venue.
In the long kitchen.
Would you like to know where I am?
I'd love to know where you are. I know where you are. You're in the radio. Where are you? Go on, tell everybody.
Can I say the name of the station?
Go ahead.
I'm in Radio Jackie in southwest London, and I've literally just done a show from 9 till 12, and I've literally come into the Radio Jackie kitchen to do men's health radio. So big up Steve, my boss, that said I could do it from here.
Yeah, tell Steve he's got a fiver coming his way. Where is Radio Jackie? I've no idea. I've heard about it for years, but I've no idea.
Tolworth Broadway. Tolworth Broadway, because I always wanted to be on Broadway.
Of course you did, yes.
It's literally, if you go to Tolworth Broadway, it's literally bang opposite Marks and Spencer's.
So it's handy for your sandwich for 7 guineas.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe what little bit of dim sum for £17.50 or whatever.
Yeah.
Where I am now, people think I'm a Waitrose guy. I haven't been to Waitrose in 7 years, not stepped into one. Because where I am, there's no Waitrose and there's no M&S. So my store, if I don't go to Tesco's, which is like going over the Somme, as far as I'm just crazy. I go to nicer stores, which I know everybody in North London and most people go nicer stores, NISA. Yeah, terrific. That's where I've been. That's where I've been for years.
Oh,
now.
I thought it was Nisa. Nisa so
it
much.
It could
nicer.
Be Nisa. It could be anyway. It's NISA. Good. You pronounce it any way you choose.
That was their strapline, wasn't it? Nisa so much nicer. You
was that
common
it?
that. Could you have?
I am. I couldn't get any more common if I went to Poundland to get bread.
Robert Van Buren wants to know if your store is Harrods.
No, I'd never go to Harrods on principle. Harrods, as they call it. I wouldn't go there on principle. I just wouldn't go there on principle. Here we go. Good morning. Oh, sorry, you just put that up. Oh, Jesus, I'm so slow today. I'm sorry, it's the drugs. Well, let's talk about progress or not. I can do this. I can do that, and I'm doing my exercises regularly. Little finger, nothing. Little finger, when I take everything off, is like that. I literally have no movement in it whatsoever. So it'll always look, unless things improve, and let's hope they do, like I'm very posh at the Queen's tea party and I'm sipping tea. But as long as I can write, as long as I can write, that's good. You've been at Radio Jackie since the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand at Sarajevo.
Pretty much. I'm just emailing our guest who's meant to be on because he says the link's not working. So if you wonder why I'm looking at my phone, which
I tell you something, being at Radio Jackie with the light of the kitchen, we're so professional here. It's fantastic.
Well, here's the thing.
And actually a better picture. Do you know what? It's a better picture. It looks great.
Oh, well, we'll have to slip Steve another $5. I'll do it from here all the time if they'll have me.
Yeah. I mean, I got to tell you, it's perfect. It's really
I know.
good.
It's good. It's good lighting. Radio Jackie was a pirate station back in the 60s, and there's all kinds of wonderful backstory about it. Basically,
it was a pirate station. How cool
it was a bunch of spotty teenagers being naughty and broadcasting when they shouldn't have been. And one of our colleagues here wrote a book about it. And he was that close to sending the Radio Jackie story to Richard Curtis, who makes all those wonderful films, generally starring Hugh Grant and people like that. But the thing was, literally, he was a couple of days out because Richard Curtis had already commissioned The Boat That Rocked, which was about Radio Caroline, which was the other radio pirate station back then. Yeah. Except Caroline was on the water.
Being older than you, I was Nikki Horn. You know, when you're a kid, you have your best friend, your best mate, and my best mate was Nikki Horn. And we were friends, I don't know, since we were 14, and we're still friends all those years ago. And we were Radio London boys. And we loved Radio London. It was just terrific. And when they were closed down, I was on holiday because people think, oh, you don't really know him. I mean, we were like we were inseparable. And I was on holiday with Nikki and his lovely parents, John and Phyllis. Phyllis still alive, to my utter amazement. Can't believe it. Phil is still going, Nikki's mum. And we were on holiday in Belgium. And we listened to Radio London. We were in our bedroom in the hotel or wherever the hell we were. And Radio London went off the air with a big goodbye. And Nikki and I just sat in utter silence. We were so upset. You know, when you're a kid, music that means so much to you.
It was exciting. I mean, we could do a whole show on this, but there were literally kids listening under the duvet to these new naughty pirate stations that were playing pop music, because the radio then was literally very posh, BBC, all talk like that, and all terribly serious and proper. And now suddenly there's all these radio rebels.
And do you know what?
That's how Tony Blackburn started. Names like that.
Yeah, and Kenny Everett, the
Kenny
greatest.
Everett,
I mean, my absolute radio hero. I could talk about this for years.
I'll tell a quick funny Radio Jackie story. You'll like
you
this.
Can. I was just going to say one thing, and then please do. It's interesting because people think, oh, you're making it up. But when you listen to, even if you listen to Ready, Steady, Go, which was like, you couldn't wait for Friday, Ready, Steady, Go with Keith Fordyce and Kathy McGowan. This was like the pop show. It was live. And you listen to Keith Fordyce speak now, when you watch it on YouTube. Hello and welcome to Ready, Steady, Go. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Rolling Stone. And you didn't notice it at the time, but everything really was jolly posh.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's all dumbed down, and I think, can these people
you listen
speak
back?
English?
You listen back. It was all very BBC, all very proper.
It was what do they call it? What do they call it, Neil? Received pronunciation, RP, isn't it? It's called received pronunciation.
Okay. Very quick funny story, and we bring our first guest on. My former boss here, a chap called, actually he worked with him at Capital, Dave Owen, was the program controller here for many years. You might remember him. We all did.
Sorry, did I?
Yeah, we all did. Anyway, so before that, it was when Radio Jackie was raided, and it was really the big shutdown.
Raided.
Loads of what's that? No, literally, they had loads of raids over the years. I'll send you a copy of the book, actually. It's a great little read, actually, written by...
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
But anyway, it was a raid, and the police didn't really know what they were coming into. So Dave is at his mum's house in Cheam, which is just down the road from here. And they bust in through the door all heavy because they didn't know what they were going to face. Pinned him to the ground. And he went, what is this? He went, we're shutting down Radio Jackie. And then the copper went, Radio Jackie? Hang on, I won a T-shirt from them the other day. Am I not going to get it now? True story. True story. Shall we get our first guest on?
Go ahead. That is so funny, isn't it? That is hilarious.
True story.
Hello, Richie Vince.
Afternoon, gents.
Good afternoon to you. Neil, over to you, fella.
Well, thank you very much. I really wanted to... I mean, I've got a list of wonderful people I want to get on, and this man is one of them, because we discuss two of my favourite subjects on a regular basis: music and mental health. And Richie is a big advocate of both. But just to set a little bit of a context, Richie Vince, I mean, he's a solicitor. He works in law, but also a very good DJ as well. Very good all-round DJ. Can do any kind of party. But I will say this, his main love is metal. How many times have you seen Iron Maiden, Richie?
27, I'm going to say. Something like that.
So it's fair to say you're a bit of a metalhead.
Slightly.
But there is a
now,
bit of a...
Richie, we can go no further. We can go no further, Neil Long. No further with your guest than discussing for a moment and paying tribute to the greatest metal band of all time, Metallica. No, Richie, if you want this interview to continue, let me explain how this works on Men's Radio. Metallica, the greatest... Neil, I've been very kind to you. Metallica. No? 2 sentences on Metallica. Richie Vince, go now.
The greatest thrash metal band. I'll give you that.
Right.
And I think they played the biggest crowd ever when they did Rock in Rio. And I think they're the only metal band, as far as I know, to have headlined Glastonbury.
And they did a great version of Whiskey in the Jar, didn't they?
They did. They did that at Slane Castle.
They did.
You didn't think I'd know that, did you?
Oh, I did.
I love
it's
Metallica.
on an album called Garage Incorporated.
And I tell you what, while we've got you, and then Neil's going to ask you all these important questions, but I've just got stupid questions. But hey,
there are no stupid questions.
No, Neil, let me remind you of 20 years ago.
Yeah, all right. Will you let it go?
I can't. It'll be on my gravestone. It'll just say, Neil, for Christ's sake, no. It'll just say,
long story, private joke.
But it is hilarious. Come on. Now, Richie Vince. Richie Vince. Would you say that Kiss is a metal band?
No.
What would you say it is then?
I would say Kiss is more. I would say glam rock.
Yeah, I would too.
Would you?
Yeah.
What, like Mark Bolan stuff?
Yeah, but towards.
Okay, last question, and then I'm shutting
More
up,
sort
and
of
it's all
modern
over
day
to
glam
Neil.
rock. Like the Darkness is glam rock, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is big news coming in, Richie Vince, from Leslie Demesa, lovely Demesa. Good afternoon, Russ and Neil. Just got back from having my car MOT. It passed. You see, all the big news as it breaks.
The big news as it breaks.
Now, Richie Vince. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, go on.
Motley Crue. 2 sentences, please.
Yes, Motley Crue.
Fabulous.
There was a cracking documentary.
I watched it. It was absolutely incredible.
It was absolutely superb.
If you haven't seen it, Neil, if you want to see what the music industry is like, well, you know it. But if you've never,
The Dirt.
no, that's the film. The Dirt's a good film actually. It's quite fun. Yeah. But there's a document. Well, tell us about it, Richie. Sorry.
Yeah. And the second thing is go and get hold of some albums by Nikki Sixx's solo project called
Love
6
Nikki
AM.
Sixx. Love Nikki Sixx. There's a guy, if you think, we're just 3 blokes yakking, this is about mental health, folks.
Yeah.
So I say folks, I'm sorry, it's the drugs. I do apologize. I'm not myself at all. It's this. Nikki Sixx, real name Frank Ferrano. Is that right? Frank Ferrano?
I think so, yeah.
There's a wonderful story I got to tell you about how life goes full circle, right? So they get hold of somebody and they're being interviewed about Motley Crue in some documentary or something. And the girl goes, do you know what? That bloke looks just like my old boyfriend, Frank. And the guy doing the documentary goes, well, he was called Frank. He was called Frank Ferrano, came from Christ knows where in the Midwest or something. And she goes, oh, whatever happened to him? And she said, that's Nikki Sixx. And she had no idea that she'd dated one of the biggest rock stars in the world. God. Anyway, Nikki Sixx was a heroin addict.
Yeah.
Was in a terrible state. I mean, shocking. He effectively died twice. I don't mean metaphorically, I mean literally.
Yeah.
And he turned his entire life around. And now it's an example to everybody. It's never, ever too late. You can make choices.
Indeed.
And he's in such good health. And he's, a brilliant photographer now. Still makes great music. An excellent photographer. Proper family guy. Amazing. Sorry, I could go on about it for ages. I just love it when somebody turns around.
He was engaged to somebody called Denise Matthews, wasn't he?
Yes.
Back in the mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
And she was a singer with a backing singer for Prince.
Oh right, yes.
And she was a bit of a cokehead by all accounts.
Oh, surprising.
And go and find out about that by going and looking at his autobiography, which is called The Heroin Diaries.
He's a good writer, but he's become such an interesting guy. There's a series, if you like this sort of music, there's a series when it's called, oh come on, Russie, My Favorite Riff with Nikki Sixx.
Yeah.
And if you like that sort of music, Neil, he gets like some of the greatest guitar. My favorite guitarist at the moment is a guy called John 5. I go on about him. Everyone goes, what? John 5, sensational. Yeah. It's John with the number 5 if you want to look him up. And they just sit in Nikki Sixx's lounge or something, and they just chat about riffs and music, and it's just 2 guys chatting, and it's so interesting.
but brilliant. But so good to listen to.
And the other thing, Neil, that I think you'd enjoy, and I think a lot of our listeners all around the world would enjoy, is Sammy Hagar's show. Sammy Hagar's got a really low-key sort of chat show, and he goes and meets some absolute rock gods. Yeah. And they're just two guys chatting. You know, there's no faff, there's no pretense. It's really interesting.
Yeah, John.
Anyway, I'm sorry, Neil. I'm going to shut up. It's over to your. Sammy Hagar. What a clever guy.
So you were saying, Richie, about John Five?
Yeah, John Five was originally guitarist with David Lee Roth, and then he went to Marilyn Manson. Who we don't really play a great deal now, given there's all sorts of allegations flying about.
Precisely. And it was Marilyn Manson who said, well, I want you to be in my band. You've got to shave your eyebrows and your name will be John Five. And John went, okay, fair enough. Because he just wanted to be he did not want to be a frontman. He wanted to be a session musician, and he played sessions everywhere. That's all he wanted to do. But he was so good, and he was very clever. This is marketing. And this is how you use your mental health and smarts. He was a young guy, unknown. So he went from, Christ knows where he lived, in some cornfield or something. And he went to LA and he thought, right, what I'll do is I find out how much everyone charges as a session musician, as a guitarist. I'll halve it. And I'll say, use me. I'll do it in half the time for half the money. And everyone said, this kid is great.
Yeah.
He's great. You know, we're paying half price, and he's absolutely brilliant. And he made his career from that. And he's such a nice man. Such a nice man.
Yeah, now of course he's Rob Zombie, isn't he? He's with Rob Zombie now.
He is with Rob Zombie. I'm not a huge Rob Zombie fan, to be honest with you, but he makes interesting films. I mean, he's an interesting film. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. We're getting miles off.
I know. It's rock. We can talk about.
I'm sorry, Richie, but it's just lovely. It's just lovely to have a metal.
I mean, clearly, as you can see, Richie Vince knows his stuff, and I've known Richie a few years. We've had some really interesting talks about mental health as well and the importance of it. And I think what really brought it home to me, a couple of things actually. No, three things. First of all, when I was doing a lot of lockdown parties in lockdown, and when we got to the Rule of Six, we had some guests round, and this was actually before Rule of Six, thinking about it. And Richie just did a piece, and it was just the importance, we talked about this on the show, of entertainment and stage and people, you know, using entertainment to relax as catharsis and all that sort of thing, and the importance of it. We had it all the way through, you know, World War II and all that sort of thing. And the piece you did was just lovely. You put it all to music, and you did it brilliantly because you're a great presenter, Richie. But it just flagged up the importance, and that's when the government's idea of, if you're a musician, retrain as a data entry clerk or something.
Just stupid and insulting.
It just if you heard that piece that Richie made, in fact, maybe we can get a link to it, because it was a lovely piece.
Radio Kent put that out as well.
Did they? If you've still got that piece, stick it on your Facebook wall, or one of the addresses that's on the scroll at the bottom, because it's a wonderful piece to listen to. Second thing,
I read it. I heard it yesterday because I was just going through some old stuff, and I was like, I remember that. What did I say? And it reminded me exactly right. And it was all about how if you imagine a world without entertainment, which is effectively where we were over lockdown. There was no gigs. There was no anything. You couldn't go to the pub. You couldn't see anybody. You were living effectively within four walls. And the upshot of the piece was, if that is what life is like without entertainment, then entertainment is probably the most important industry on the planet.
Wasn't it interesting, guys, that, how can I put this? If you're not in entertainment, or in all its forms, just call it art, in the arts, right? You know, and not everything is for everybody, you know, it's not. But when you don't have it, boy, life seems so beige and boring and unexciting and just, quite frankly, just miserable.
It's a buzz. It's exciting. If I do 10 minutes stand up on stage, I come off buzzing, and I've got all those legal brain
booing.
Chemicals.
Did you say you come off booing? Did you say
buzzing?
That?
Buzzing.
Buzzing.
No booing. This is me you're talking about. Booing. Oh, you think you're so funny, Ruskin. The second thing that drew my attention to this was a set you played literally, I think, last week. That's Alex in the background of the Radio Jackie kitchen. Give him a wave on Men's Radio, Alex. There we go. Actually, Alex and I have talked about mental health a lot. We
All
talk
we can
about
see
it a lot.
is a check shirt.
Nice
It could be a
little
lumberjack.
thing.
We don't know. That could be a lumberjack wandering. We just
He's not a lumberjack. Don't be so rude.
We just saw an arm. We don't know.
Yeah, we didn't see your face. Come and give us a proper wave.
Let's see this.
Last
Alex,
week, Richie did a
mystery
set.
man.
Here he is.
Yeah.
There you go.
Guys?
Hey, Alex, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Alex Loveridge doing our news today at Radio Jackie. Thank you very much indeed.
Bless.
Awesome. So anyway, last week we're doing a set at my house, a fundraiser, and Richie came round and did a metal set, and it was basically a story you told of a man's mental health journey from literally I don't want to go on to knowing there's hope, and you told that story through your musical set, and I'm actually getting goosebumps thinking about it now because you did it, and he's a great presenter, Russ. I will big him up because he's too humble, and the way you did that, Richie, was bloody good. Talk about inspiration for that, because obviously mental health's really important to you. Do you want to share that?
It was funny. We've obviously spoken about mental health in the past, and we all recognise that there is a big issue with particularly men's mental health. When you think that the average man is 3 times more likely to kill himself than a female because of various societal pressures, whatever it is. And you'd said to me, we're doing this fundraiser for a mental health charity, and we were streaming it live to a pub and so on. And I was thinking about, what would I play if I wanted to get a message across? What would I play? And then I was thinking in terms of, I started thinking about songs that gave you hope, and songs that gave you, the results of the treatment and all that sort of stuff. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute. Given that there's so many different songs that deal with so many different facets of mental health, it just came to me. Click. Oh, I know. We'll tell a story. So I found some tunes that started off sort of on a sort of lowbrow, the pain of it and all that sort of stuff. And then I thought, right, well, let's take the listener on a journey from some of the tunes that I listen to when I'm in a car. Because we all know songs that we go to when we're feeling sad, or when we're feeling miserable, or when we're feeling angry or upset or whatever. And we all know songs that we listen to when we need a kick up the arse.
Tell me something, Richie. Can I ask you this? I'm sorry to jump in, but are you careful when you're in certain moods? I don't mean you're in a bad mood, but you know what I'm talking about, states of mind. Neil could put it more elegantly than me, but say you're feeling a bit down. Are you careful with your choice of music?
Good question.
Because it could exacerbate.
That's a brilliant
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to predicate that question. I wanted to leave it as an open question. Are you careful with your choice of music for you personally?
It's a brilliant question, and the answer is yes. I think I probably am, but not on a conscious level. I think it's a case of if I'm feeling particularly angry one day, I might go and stick some Slayer on, and give it some serious welly, right?
Yes.
And if I'm feeling pensive, then I might put on something like top of the head, Black Label Society, Set You Free, something like that, which is all about alcohol addiction. But actually, the lyrics in there are quite they speak to me. I'm not an alcoholic. I probably could have been quite easily in my 20s. I think most of us could have been. But it's funny that the lyrics speak to me. Like when I'm a solicitor, I do family law is in my real job. So I deal with domestic abuse and family breakdown and children issues and things like that. Right through, it's my bread and butter. It's what I do.
I've got to ask you a question, Richie. I'm sorry. I've got to. It behooves me. All right. We've just seen 7 weeks of pantomime, 7 weeks of showbiz in Virginia.
Good description.
In my opinion, and I'm pinning my colours to the mast, I think it was the right result completely. Yeah. You deal with domestic abuse and domestic violence.
Yeah,
we're doing a whole special on it. I've told Neil the other day we're doing a whole special on it in about 10 days or so with someone who deals with it exclusively. It's a special program.
Yeah.
Do you find that it's always men perpetrating the violence, or in your experience as an officer of the law, as a solicitor, are there women who are also abusers?
I think the general perception is that it's woman to man. That it's man to woman. But I think the reality is that because men are almost socially conditioned not to display any emotions, not to break down, not to feel sad, not to exhibit the fact
which is a massive problem,
not to mention that they're under the cosh indoors, that they're being domestically abused. Because don't forget, domestic abuse doesn't just it's not just physical abuse, it's mental abuse, emotional, financial abuse, all that sort of stuff. How many men have been the victim unwittingly because they don't know what they're looking for, because the education just isn't there. I acted for a guy years ago who his partner had stopped him seeing his child because she said he was domestically abusive towards her. But I saw photo evidence of bite marks in the guy's neck, and all sorts of other stuff. And in the end, I said to him, look, you need to go and get some counselling on this. And he refused to get the counselling because his pride wouldn't let him admit that he was a victim.
Exactly. Because, when I struggled with my mental health a couple of years ago, and there was no one doing it to me, my own tormentor was me, based on this society's conditioning that I should have all the answers, I should be all together all the time, I should be on top of my game all the time, should. And I simply didn't have the answer at that point, and I felt shame for that. And you must encounter this all the time. How do you maintain your mental well-being when you're looking at awful things like this, apart from putting Slayer on?
It's music all the time. It's all the time. It's for me. It's like if I need a pick me up, I go to someone like David Drayman of Disturbed.
That was perfect link in, because I was going to talk about him next. Go on.
And he's a very, very, very most brilliant, excellent vocalist. I love David Drayman. And he and Disturbed have a real knowledge of mental health issues, because David Drayman did try to kill himself after his previous girlfriend killed herself because she had a heroin addiction.
I didn't know that.
In fact, she was killed by the drug. And so he's a massive proponent of mental health. And if you listen to some of the stuff that Disturbed put out, it's very, very personal and it's very, very powerful.
You were talking to me about this, and Disturbed's version of The Sound of Silence is probably the most goosebumping, brilliant, amazing song I've ever heard in my life, and the video is super powerful as well. I didn't know
the whole thing. No matter whatever you think what Neil's saying, I promise you, if you've never seen this, it just is quite one of the most extraordinary musical experiences I've ever had.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest with you. I'd never heard of them. I came at it completely blank. I'd never heard of them. Sorry. Yeah. And I thought, well, how are they going to screw up this song? I've never seen anything like it. It was amazing. Yeah.
Russ, I would say there is
amazing. Now, are you all right to hang around?
Yes, of course.
Can I just say one more thing very quickly?
Of course.
Thank you. Just finish what you were saying about David Drayman. I didn't know that he tried to kill himself. And you talk about he's a very big proponent of mental health. And you told me this, and this blew me away. And I've seen video evidence of this. In a Disturbed concert, he actually stops and they do Q&A of mental health while he's on stage. And there's David Drayman saying, have you really felt awful? Raise your hands. And he says, yes, so have I. And I'm getting goosebumps again now. And it's just this kind of sense of me too, this kind of you're not alone, this sense of community. And what an amazing proponent of that, don't you think?
And also,
jump onto YouTube and go and look at a video, the live version of Disturbed's A Reason to Fight. It's a video that is specifically cut with stories of people that have had addictions and come through them, that have had mental health issues and come through them, that are the survivors of suicide attempts, and those that are left behind after suicide attempts. The whole video is one of the most powerful videos I've ever seen.
Do you know, Richie, we could talk about this. We could talk about this all afternoon. all afternoon. I'm just going to shout out quickly where we can find Richie, because you do a couple of radio shows. You live stream mixcloud.com/Richie Vince and on facebook.com/Richie Vince Rock Show. Really worth listening to. It's Richie, as you can see, he's a very thoughtful presenter and a bloody good DJ as well.
And if you don't like the show, he'll sue you, obviously, with no cost.
Stick around, Richie. Thanks Richie, for being on. Yeah, really good talking to you.
I've mentioned it before, but this is my last point about music and mental health. We've talked about Metallica. James Hetfield, who's the front man for Metallica since the 1984, 85, something ridiculous, 84, 85. They've been together all those years, a few lineup changes, but essentially the same. And James Hetfield's worth conservatively $200 million, conservatively, probably north of that, and he has mental issues. And I mentioned it on a show recently. There he was in Brazil. They're in front of about 80,000 people. Yeah, and he starts crying. Yeah, he starts crying, because he didn't think he was good enough. It overwhelmed him. And and if you think it's just, my point is this: if you think it's just you and your life, and it's always about money, which I know is a huge pressure point. Just imagine there's someone who's one of the most famous people in the world, at the top of his game, adored by literally tens of millions of people, richer than God. If you have mental health issues, you have mental health issues. That's all. And it's our job to fight it all the time. Now, from heavy metal, we go to heavy glamour. I can't believe I just said that. Oh,
that was terrible.
What a crap link.
That was terrible.
Absolutely disgusting link.
I mean, Chantal is very glamorous, but that was the worst link ever. Chantal, I can only
shocking, but I like sometimes to just be so bad that I can grow from it.
So bad it's good.
So bad it's just terrible. Yes. It's like a Kirsten
How are you?
Stewart.
I love the conversation about music and mental health. It's just brilliant. It offers so many different roads to go down, and I certainly jump around the kitchen to Van Halen when I'm feeling low, because it just gets me going.
Yes, it's interesting. I was actually worried during this show because I thought, are we getting too niche? I mean, it's a passion of mine, and I'm thrilled you said that. It's obviously a passion of Neil and Richie's, and I thought, I don't want people to just get lost and think, oh God, this is some boring rock show. But thank you. That's really, in all seriousness, cheered me up, and it's reinforced what I was hoping we'd get out of the conversation. Bless you for that.
No, it's good. And actually, the idea has been stolen by the BBC, because Edith Bowman is now doing a series on BBC Sounds where she interviews about people who talk about the music that they love and what makes them feel cheerful and what they put on to bring them out of sad moments in their life. So there's a whole series in there that
I used to work with her at I used to work with Edith at Capitol.
Oh, well, there we are.
Edith Bowman and Cat Deeley.
I remember those two. Yeah,
remember that, Neil?
Yeah.
And Cat in those days was very sweet and would park her car in the NCP car park underneath the Capitol building. And she said, Russ, I don't suppose you'd escort me. Would you mind? Because it's late, and would you mind walking me down to? And that was my. But I never heard from her since, obviously, because she's a superstar now. But it was sweet. I liked her. She was very nice. That's so happened. She was fine.
Jolly good. Well, Cat Deeley lives and works now in LA, I think. I think she's still there.
Yeah, she's married to the Irish comedian whose name's gone out of my head.
Patrick Kielty.
Patrick Kielty. Yeah. Who, just to bring it full circle, and Neil will get this, used to do a show with our old boss, Richard Park, and it wasn't showbiz nonsense. They loathed each other, and I mean loathed each other,
it was a
hated
TV show,
each
wasn't
other.
It?
Yeah, what was it called? The
Fame Academy.
Fame Academy.
Richard Park was the headmaster, and they would have full-on verbal spats on live TV.
It wasn't like Simon Cowell's pantomime villain, because if you meet Simon in real life, he's actually delightful. I wouldn't do business with him, but he's a delightful man, very charming. He's lovely. He's a lovely guy. He's nothing like the villain he pretends to be. But Patrick Kielty, Cat Deeley's husband, and Richard Park, our old boss, really hated each other so badly. Security guard. This is not apocryphal. This is absolutely true. Security guards would be on the corridor of the studio, so that if they, God forbid, they passed each other, there wouldn't be a full-on ruckus.
Good Lord.
I know it was that
And the
bad.
thing
That's
is,
crazy.
Patrick Kielty, as a comedian, he's very good at taking the piss. And Richard Park did not like that.
Oh, you don't. You never do
That's
that
He's a
and
very
hope to
good piss
live.
taker.
You do not
No,
do
dear.
that and hope to live. I tell you that.
No,
Wow.
no. Well, if you're thin-skinned, don't work in comedy.
Well,
Well, exactly. Chantal, welcome to the show. Lovely to see you again.
Thank
yes,
you.
and
Nice
thank you
to
for
be
coming
here.
on. Thank you for coming on Jubilee weekend.
I'm
I've just got
really
this
happy to
visual of
be
you
here.
leaping around your kitchen listening to Van Halen. I've just got this visual in my head now.
Well, yesterday I was in Horse Guards Parade singing along to the marching bands.
How fast!
As you do.
So
That
I
must have
know.
been gorgeous.
Do you know, it was completely wonderful. I was determined to get there pretty early, cycled up into the West End. We were one row behind the sort of people in front and then the crash barriers beyond that. So
Wow.
we could see most of what was going on in Horse Guards Parade. And then we waited there until Horse Guards Parade emptied out because I thought, well, those are going to be the best sight lines for the fly past. And so we were literally standing in the middle of an empty Horse Guards Parade as all the planes came over. And it was just wonderful. It was pure theatre. I mean, horses, theatre, music, aeroplanes, what's not to like?
Now you,
We do
as-
pomp very well, though, don't we?
I was about
we're
to say.
fabulous at pomp.
I was about to say, and you're absolutely right. You are like right in the depths of showbiz. You're ex-CEO of BAFTA Los Angeles. You've made all the great and the good were in your office, like the greatest stars in the world. America does showbiz better than anywhere else, but nowhere does pomp and circumstances
No.
like the UK. Nowhere.
No.
They don't
Pomp and
touch it.
pageantry. It's our
Absolutely.
DNA.
It is,
And
isn't it?
I was just watching the service from St Paul's this morning, and I was incredibly lucky about 6 weeks ago to go round St Paul's with Dr. David Ison, who is the Dean of St Paul's. And so he greeted all the royals this morning as they came in.
Lovely.
And he gave me a private tour of St Paul's, 4 hours, one Saturday morning,
Get
being
out.
taken around. I know, I was terribly lucky. It was one of those, really special moments. So I was happy to do that, and then great to see him there this morning. But again, just the wonderful outfits and the pipers and
Fabulous.
just the singing and everything, just perfect. Britain at its best.
It is truly magnificent. And I'm going to just say it. I don't care. I well up.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there with my dog, arm in a sling, and I'm going,
Yeah.
this is so fabulous. I kind of feel myself welling
Yeah.
up. And I go, I have no idea why. I'd love one
No.
day to discuss it with a therapist. I have no idea why, but I feel so proud
Yeah.
and emotional about it. And when I saw somebody said something beautiful, I'd love to bounce it off you. When the Queen came out on her own on the balcony for a few moments, Duke of Kent then quickly followed.
Yeah.
And she stood there, and the crowd hadn't clocked who it was. And then bit by bit through the ripple, there she is. Somebody wrote on Facebook, she looked like a beautiful, delicate, priceless piece of Wedgwood because of the outfit. And I thought that was so lovely. I thought it was beautiful. Anyway, there we are.
And she
I'm
was in
getting
the
emotional
Wedgwood
now.
colour. So
Yeah,
couldn't
that's
have been
because of that
better.
lovely turquoise.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are. I'm not
Gorgeous.
alone, even in New York City. There you go.
No, well, when they sang God Save the Queen yesterday at Horse Guards, I welled up. I just thought, God, I hope this isn't the last time that I stand with other people and sing this.
Well,
Anyway,
there you
it was
go.
great.
Poignant.
Anyway.
Very poignant.
Sorry, so what have you found?
Yes,
Well,
what little
this
gems
is-
have you got for us this week, Chantal? Come on, lay it on us.
Small little film that a few people are talking about at the moment. And going from one sort of patriotic setting to another, I thought I'd tell you about what I think is probably the equivalent of 6 cans of Red Bull in film form. And not the sugar-free variety. So when you go and watch this, you might have to give up sugar for the next 6 months. There's a small little film called Top Gun Maverick.
Not heard of
Never
it.
heard of it.
Does it star anyone we know?
It's somebody called Thomas Mapother.
No,
The
don't know it.
fourth,
No,
known
don't
as
know.
Thomas, in human form, a sort of dynamo called Thomas Cruise Mapother the fourth, because that is
No.
indeed his name.
No, maybe he's made
Never
one
heard of
film,
him.
but no,
Strange but true. Actually, I didn't know his surname was Mapother the
Yes, I
fourth,
did.
but there we
I
are.
thought that was his middle. Oddly enough, I thought it was his middle name.
No, it's his surname.
Oh,
So
I
there
didn't
we
know that.
are.
Yeah.
And we've been waiting, I think, 26 years for the follow-up from the original Top Gun, with all that wonderful music and the wonderful, filming sequences. Top Gun is about, I'm sure everybody knows what it's about, but it's about fighter jet pilots in California learning how to be fighter jet pilots, basically. And all you need to know for the second film is the fact that he fell out with a guy, Tom Cruise falls out with a guy called Goose in the first film, who dies, and then in the second film, he and the son of Goose, who is the lovely actor Miles Teller, a young American actor, are in the same squad. And Tom Cruise's character Maverick has gone in to train the squad for a mission, a deadly, deadly, deadly mission, but you're never told which country they are going to bomb the hell out of, which I thought, actually, Loggy, I thought that was really interesting, the fact that the baddies were not identified. I thought that was quite clever. And it isn't sort of all American boy. You don't see lots of cutaways to American flags. So actually they dialed down a bit of their own patriotism, again, which I thought was quite clever, because it's more appealing to an international audience if it isn't all about American superiority.
Well, quite.
All I have to tell you is you absolutely have to see this film. It is one of the best action movies I have ever seen in my entire life.
So I don't necessarily need to have seen the first one then?
No. You absolutely don't. It is frame perfect.
Hang on.
Yeah.
What?
You haven't seen it?
You've never seen Top Gun?
No.
Did you know that Elvis Presley is also dead? Neil, where?
He's
The
not.
Beatles are broken. Beatles broke up. The Beatles broke up as well.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
And you're a bloke too. That's just peculiar.
Neil, I'm not sure.
Even I saw the original Top Gun.
I'm just a peculiar man.
You are a peculiar man, but there we are.
As it's a Royal Jubilee celebration, I have to tell you this very quick anecdote. Right, Princess Diana was a huge fan of Capital Radio, the breakfast show.
And indeed of Tom Cruise.
And one day,
and the overnight show with Neil Long.
And she loved the overnight show with Neil. Spoke very little else about it. And that could have been the cause of the divorce, that Charles wasn't such a fan and she thought you were the best. Anyway,
that's right, Russ. Absolutely,
she came in unannounced to our little office. And one of her favourite songs, and she was really in real life terribly shy. You wouldn't think so, most famous woman on the planet, but she was. And she said, I hope you don't mind. It's Princess Diana, right? And she reaches into her bag, brings out a cassette. And says, I love this tune. It was the theme tune from Top Gun. And I think it was Graham Dean at the time said, I think we can do a bit better than putting on your cassette, ma'am. And played the proper record. But wasn't it? Isn't it? It's like she was reduced to a punter of bringing in the cassette she'd made of the theme of Top Gun. I always think that's so adorable.
Is that the Berlin song, Take My Breath Away?
No. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
no, good
the Giorgio Moroder.
It.
I think it was Giorgio Moroder, wasn't it?
Okay.
It was either that
Rich is nodding.
or Pearl Carr and Teddy Johnson. I don't know.
No, it wasn't Pearl Carr and Teddy Johnson. I think that they weren't around then, but I could be wrong.
Bobby Crush's godparents.
No. What?
Is there anybody that you don't know in the showbiz world, Russ Kane?
This is random.
It's wonderfully random.
This is definitely random. Listen, you just got to go and see it, okay? The sequences are wonderful. The flying sequences are authentic. No CGI in the flying sequences. They really do come down to, 100 feet. They did go up and do all the training. They all experienced G-forces. They all threw up during training. That bit of it is completely astonishing. It's incredibly authentic movie making. The music is wonderful. The script is absolutely terrific. It's simple, it's straightforward, it doesn't demand anything of the audience, but actually it's a thumping great movie and possibly will win awards. I think this is the year that a big action movie could come back. Yep, could come back.
As opposed to some film that three people see that appeals to like a tiny mind. Everyone goes, we've got to back this. And you go, it's crap.
Yeah. And Tom Cruise is great.
Chantal, I'd love to ask you this. I've got my view, but I'd love your professional view.
Okay.
Do you think, and it's a serious question, it's not me mucking about, do you think Tom Cruise is the last of the proper movie stars?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't think of anybody coming up behind him with that star rating in terms of just, being there for the long haul, rarely having made a bad movie, always getting a box office following. This is his biggest box office opening ever, and the guy's 59, and he's been going for 30 years. Yeah, God. 59. He looks amazing.
He looks great. I don't care if he's had work. He looks terrific.
Yeah. If he has had work, it's very difficult to tell where the joints
are. Very difficult.
He allows himself to look not perfect. His hair's the wrong color. I think the hair could have been slightly less dark. But anyway, it's terrific. He's great, and he's a complete movie star.
He's an absolute star. Have you seen? I tell you what I found. In fact, my daughter sent it to me. It's a picture of the original Top Gun of Kelly McGinnis. Come on, Russell, for God's sake. Kelly McGinnis and Tom Cruise in 1986. I think it's 1986. And a picture of Tom Cruise now, who looks sensational. Oh my God. Time is not always kind. I'll leave it there. Chantal, even you will be shocked to the core.
Okay.
I'll leave it there. It's unbelievable.
Right, worth knowing. Well, they brought back Val Kilmer, who doesn't look as great any longer. Val Kilmer has been suffering. I think we talked about it recently. Suffered from throat cancer. So he uses a voice box to speak these days. But actually, in the film, he has got a throat illness. It isn't identified, but he speaks very quietly. And
do you know who's doing his voice?
Possibly his son.
It's his son.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
His son sounds uncannily like Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer can't. Poor man. God.
Yeah, but his throat is all covered up so that you can't see that he's had throat operations, but indeed he has. So anyway, it's really worth seeing.
Wonderful that they're back together, isn't it? Wonderful.
Yeah. I paid real money to see it, and I haven't done that for many years.
What did you say, Richie? You said something. We missed it.
I
just said. Oh, sorry. No, carry on.
We'd been corrected. The Top Gun theme was done by Harold Faltermeyer, who, if I remember rightly, was the chap that did the Axel Foley in Lethal Weapon.
That's it. Harold Faltermeyer, Axel F. Beverly Hills Cop.
That's it.
That one,
you got it.
Yeah, which was
also... give me spoilers on Top Gun. I'm going to see it later. So
right, no, I won't give you any spoilers at all.
Thanks.
But the original film set up by Tony Scott, one of the famous Scott brothers, Ridley Scott and Tony Scott, who sadly committed suicide some years later. But he was behind Beverly Hills Cop and so many fantastic movies.
If I could jump in with mental health for a second, Chances. Tony Scott, so successful, so admired, had dinner with the family. I know only because my daughter was at school with Ridley's daughter, and they're still best pals since the age of 9. So I know Jordan very well. Known her for nearly 40 years. And they had dinner on 2 days before, everything fine, and he jumps off a bridge.
Yeah.
So, if you're thinking it's all about, I know I say this, it's all about money or, things aren't going well with my job. You can be like one of the most successful people on the planet, admired. And if mental health strikes, it strikes.
And there's nothing wrong with having these things. There's nothing wrong with being rich, successful, whatever. But it doesn't guarantee mental health. That is why these conversations and shows like this are so important. It's
not about money. It's not about fame.
Absolutely.
It's not about celebrity. It's about how you are to jump off a freaking bridge of all the things that the family were, showbiz people wrote about it, but the family were absolutely devastated. They'd had dinner with him 2 days before and everything was fine. So go figure. Go figure.
He was in fact suffering from cancer, which I think people found out later, and they thought that possibly that was a contributory factor to him being mentally unstable at the time. Anyway, sad but true, but amazing.
A great
amazing
filmmaker,
partnership.
great filmmaker, wasn't
Yeah.
he? Marvelous,
Yeah,
very
tremendous.
talented man. Anyway, there we are. So you've seen that little indie film. Anything
Little
big?
indie film. But I'm also, instead of flinging you back 26 years, I'm going to fling you back 10 years to what I thought was one of the best dramas to come out of, bizarrely, Denmark. Something called Borgen, which was where the Danes started making really, really good dramas about 10 years ago. The Killing, which famously everybody really liked, that came out of Copenhagen 10 years ago, but also a political drama called Borgen. They made 3 series and said that it would never come back again. And rather interestingly, they've brought it back 10 years down the line. It's back on Amazon. It's an 8-part series, and it's absolutely wonderful. If you didn't see the original series, three series of 8 episodes each, it's a wonderful political thriller. Brigitte is the female character that we follow. She is the prime minister in the first 3 series, and now in series 4, which is called Borgen, Power and Glory. She is the foreign minister. And the basic storyline is that oil is found in Greenland. And there is a whole thing about should they dig up the oil or not. She is very pro-green and doesn't want the oil to be dug up. There is massive political intrigue. A lot of the original characters from the first 3 series are back. It's a great cast, incredibly well written, and it's really, really worth taking another turn around the block with. So that's called Borgen, and it's on Amazon. And absolutely one of my favourite political dramas ever.
I remember when it first came out, I absolutely loved it. And the second series was brilliant, and the third series was brilliant. And the other thing that I really, really liked, which had a really strong male character as the lead, was the original, I think it was Swedish, was the original Wallander that BBC then copied with Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that
really
was
good.
Dark, wasn't that? The Kenneth Branagh. I didn't see the original, but the Kenneth Branagh, I found it very depressing, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think the original, I think it was either Swedish or Danish, one of the two, and it was really, really, really good. And I thought it was miles ahead of the BBC remake.
Yeah, I think it was Swedish. I could be wrong, but I think he was a Swedish character.
Well, Chantal, it's easy. Were there loads of Allen keys on every set? And it's Swedish.
Lots of pine trees in the background waiting to be felled.
Keys and some meatballs.
Yes, some meatballs. Yes.
Oh dear, it'll be busy down in IKEA in Croydon tomorrow, I bet. People building their summer benches and their summer garden
Chantal,
equipment.
I'm going to ask you a question. As you're the smartest person I know, I mean, you've got a brain like a planet. When you go to IKEA, can you ever find your way out? Because I never bloody.
Oh no, I've got the map. I know every IKEA back to front, and I
going to IKEA.
They give you a map.
Yeah, there's a secret path. The thing about IKEA, if you've ever been to Las Vegas and stayed in a hotel in Las Vegas, there is a route directly. You can only get to the lift unless you've got the secret map. You can only get to the lift by going through all the slot machines, and that's done absolutely on purpose. Well, the same trick is played at IKEA, which drives you around in a particular direction unless you've got the map. That's so fantastic. After years of going to every IKEA, I know how to get round in double fast time.
Oh,
the
best idea.
I think the key to IKEA is just to keep going forward. If you go backwards, you're going to go where you started from. And the second thing is follow the smell of the hot dogs that they serve at the exit.
You're a genius, Richie.
Good
Vince.
trick. Yeah,
great
absolutely
guess,
love
Neil.
that.
Thank you. Great guess. I always think with IKEA, it's like Medusa. You know, if you turn your head, you think, oh, I do need some more glasses. You don't. Right? Those clothes pegs would be good. I don't have a clothesline. Why am I buying clothes pegs, for God's sake? You got to not look because it'll trap you.
Exactly. Wonderful trick of buying things you don't need.
Oh, my God. It's called Amazon. Anyway, I look at this list. All I have the map. I hate shop. I'm so impressed, Chantal. Every time we talk or I meet you, you do something. I go, God, you're smart. Who else has a map of IKEA?
Oh dear. Anyway, now listen, I'm going to send you somewhere else now. There's another documentary series. We're going around the world in one easy half-hour session today. You've got to watch a documentary series on Sky called Once Upon a Time in a London Grad, which is a rather confusing and lengthy title that it didn't need to be so overly complicated. But actually, it's a true life crime series about Russians in the UK. And it starts out with the death of a man called Scott Young, who's a property developer who I don't remember at all.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember this?
Yes.
Well, and also there's a sequence right at the beginning with his ex-wife who talks about the money that she was hoping to get from their divorce. She said he was worth billions. She ends up with nothing. That's the sort of that's the first 5 minutes of the documentary series. It then goes on to talk about his death, which may or may not have been suicide. But he ended up on some railings. I'm thinking
of the word balcony. Am I right?
Came out of a window, a kitchen window in Montague Square, I think, and ended up on some railings in not a good way.
Yeah, well.
And it then moves on to Boris Berezovsky, who we've heard of. I think we all heard of because he was a billionaire oligarch who ended up in the UK. Also, rather strangely, died from polonium poisoning, I think, in his bath.
Strange that.
And you think, hang on a second, where is this story going anyway? What starts out as something that you think is just one or two people who've died in mysterious circumstances ends up actually telling the story of 14 different people who have died in mysterious, I would say, mercurial, murky, and possibly Russian circumstances. Covering my back here because I don't quite know what to say and to keep myself safe.
Yeah,
you end up
an umbrella in the back of your leg walking across a bridge. Yes, precisely.
I have to say, you end up feeling quite unsafe at the end of watching this documentary series. It's very good. 6 1 hours. I mean, the reconstructions are not particularly brilliant, but the basic underlying story about Russian money in London is completely fascinating. So if you like true crime, if you like modern political thrillers and drama. I mean, this isn't a drama. This is true documentary filmmaking. It's fascinating. It's scary too. It's definitely scary. It's on Sky, and it's called Once Upon a Time in Londongrad. But take a look if you like that sort of stuff. So we go on from a drama, political thriller from Denmark, and then this is political drama in London, and it all leads back probably to President Putin. So it's tricky stuff. It's a tricky watch. Follow them well, indeed, and that's what they do in this documentary series. And you see how the money is being spent.
Mugs. Yeah, we have been taken. I honestly believe as such mugs in London. You've escaped it in the rest of the country, but boy, London and Russian money and the rest of it.
Yeah,
and they are people you do not want to mess with. They are truly, truly terrifying. That's all I'm going to say on the subject.
Yeah, I think that's probably it's best watched on telly and not played with in real life.
God damn, no. They're very frightening people.
And anyway, one last quick thing, because we're nearly coming up to the end of the hour. For Downton Abbey fans, if you haven't seen the new movie, Downton Abbey, A New Era, shot in the south of France and at Highclere Castle, which is used for Downton Abbey. They have twin track storylines. There's a film crew coming to Downton Abbey to make a movie. Marvelous. Dominic West is the director. And at the same time, there's a whole sort of gripping yarn about whether the Maggie Smith character was playing away from home 60 years earlier in the south of France at Villa Montmirail. That's all I'm going to say.
Do you think what sort of year? What year, Chantal? What year have we got to now in the trajectory?
Oh God, I don't know. We must about 1920, something like that, because originally it was supposed to be 1910 to 1920, yes, I think. Yeah. So it must be about, or maybe it's moved on even further. I don't think it's got into. Well, let's say they're not really talking about the war years yet. Although I think actually in the Downton series they did.
They talked about World War One.
They did talk about World War One. You're right.
Two.
Yeah, it's not close to World War Two yet.
Good. Good.
But great for the fans and doing very well at the box office.
Is it? I'm so pleased. Yeah. It's nice when nice things, it doesn't all have to be bang bang, shoot everything up. Look at this. Absolutely. Oh, good Lord! This is coming in from my cousin. What does she say? She says Downton Abbey movie is wonderful, just bad continuity in the makeup department with suntans. Well, she
Right, we
that's
stand
my family
corrected.
for you. What can I tell you? Picky. They're very picky.
It's not as good as the first movie, but it's worth seeing. If you're a fan, you'll love it.
Yeah, bless you, Chantal. As always, thank you.
Great pleasure.
Have a wonderful rest of the
Thank you,
Jubilee
Chantal.
celebrations.
I will. You
All
too.
right. You take
Nice
care
talking
now.
to you.
Bye. Richie,
And thank you, Richie.
Richie, you've been delightful. We will have you back. Have a very good rest of the time.
Can I just very quickly plug his websites once more, very quickly? Mixcloud.com/Richie Vince. He does some really good live streams on Mixcloud. And if you heard him earlier on the show, you know it's brilliant music, but very thoughtful too. And also Facebook.com/Richie Vince Rock Show. Absolutely brilliant. Two wonderful guests today.
And if you want to hire him, it's
on Monday,
Neil
Mr. Kane.
Enterprises Global Limited. Now, we'll be back. Neil and I will be back. Yes, I know it's still a holiday. We'll be back on Monday. So until then, have a wonderful time. Stay safe. Cheerio.
Cheerio. Good afternoon.